Hello everyone and welcome to a new series here on the channel in TEW9 as we are opening up the gate to Dragon Gate as the promotion is taking a new change here, as a new fresh coat of paint, if you will, as far as where we're at in the timeline in the world. July 2004, as far as Torimon was a thing until July 4th, 2004, they had to run their last show because the following day, on the 5th, Ultimo Dragon announced that he was taking the rights away from Torimon Japan and Torimon Mexico and making it his own thing, which was basically taking it away from the Torimon Japan side and focusing more on what he wanted to do post WWE, which left the roster in a bit of limbo for a little bit. As far as Ultimo Dragon hadn't been there in a while, but still taking a whole new name, which the name itself, the Torimon itself, that comes from an old Chinese kind of proverb of having a koi fish, or actually, sometimes it's a koi fish, but mainly it's a carp fish that's able to swim upstream, jump over this gate, and if he keeps on going up this waterfall, he'll transform into a dragon. Which is why in Gen 1 of Pokemon, a Magikarp evolves into Gyarados, a little water dragon. And obviously, it's the proverb of just, if you work hard enough, if you fucking get after you, don't give up, and you keep on trying, maybe one day you'll jump over that goddamn gate and evolve into a goddamn beast that is Gyarados. But as far as for the name change, Dragon Gate itself is also a part of that kind of gate that as far as the carp jumps over, it's called the Dragon Gate, and the Dragon Gate itself is the gateway to success type of thing, and you jump over that, hey, you're there. You're on to bigger and better things. As, Dragon Gate itself, it's, at this time, it's still very much built off the backs of the first two classes of Ultimo Dragon students, which we're going to go through, because this first episode, this is mainly to inform people that maybe don't really know the ins and outs about Dragon Gate, especially around this time, because even though it's something that I absolutely loved and adored, especially around this time, that was 20 years ago, so it's been a while, and obviously not everybody grew up with it. As, at the time, especially once they went over to Ring of Honor and started working there, it's like, holy shit, these guys are awesome. But the style itself, you have to go way back to Universal Lucha Libre, which was funded basically by the president of New Japan's son at the time, and the UWF president, which, it turned into the UWFI president, but he was a huge Tiger Mask fan. So much so, he loved the fucking character, the flashy colors, the fucking aerial moves. So, basically, he's like, fuck it, I'm bringing Lucha to Japan. And that started, him working with Gran Hamada was a big part of that, which then Gran Hamada helped train guys like the great Sasuke, fucking Jado and Geto, and Ian Taka Michinoku, and that, of course, led to Michinoku Pro. And Michinoku Pro very much led that path to what Lucha Rest became, with the trios matches, the multi-man matches, the unit matches, and this absolutely great unit like Kaientai Deluxe, which obviously you have Taka Michinoku, Shofunaki, Dick Togo, Kazayashi as Shiranyu, and this unit that could beat the babyface unit team of Team Michinoku Pro because of them teaming together, being this well-oiled machine. And that type of style very much, I think, influenced Torimon. And Torimon basically started really, I wouldn't say was Dragon being like bored being in WCW, but like I think he wanted to pave a path for guys like he had to do because the New Japan Dojo was like, you're too fucking small. You gotta go to Mexico and train. And I think he was like, man, it's a great place to work. It's a great place to get your foot in the door. Why not, right? And this first class of guys, which we're going to go over to the stables because I just went ahead and just made it a stable so it's easier to kind of look at this from the picture standpoint, which it is kind of out of order because now it's in alphabetical, but we'll go to this page to show it. So the first 5 people here, Super Shiza, Shima, Don Fuji, Magnum Tokyo, and Suwa. All these guys were the first class, all debuting. All basically Shima, Don Fuji, Magnum Tokyo, and Suwa team, first people of the class. They all debuted the same day, May 11th, 1997. Super Shiza actually debuted a little quicker. He debuted in 96, which is weird because it always feels like Shima's kind of like the first guy of the class, but it's actually Super Shiza. I mean, obviously, when you think about synonymous with Dragon Gate, obviously Shima is the guy. That's who we are in the save. We are Shima. We're not the owner. We just turn the owner goals off because fuck that shit. We got our own plans. I'm not letting some dork try to tell us what to do. And obviously, with Shima comes Crazy Max, which is the start of, I would say, a tremendous unit of Toryumon and into Dragon Gate, even with Shima, Don Fuji, Suwa being mainly the main trio. And again, it's kind of crazy. Shima still going after it, and even in the year 2025, same thing for Don Fuji. Kind of crazy. But man, as far as Shima to say, kind of following in the footsteps of what Ultimo Dragon did when he took over Dragon Gate as kind of the ace and the guy that was running the dojo and shit. There's a lot of guys that were trained under him, so it kind of carried that legacy onwards. And that's what really Toryumon was. It was a place for the first 2 classes of talents, which was an incredible roster of talent. Because again, and also Dragon Kid. I also forgot to talk about Dragon Kid. I thought he was the second term guy. No, he was the first term guy. I'm an idiot. Doy. But in Dragon Kid, who, it's crazy. He's 55, still out there, killing it, being the goddamn man. So awesome. He rules. As far as the Dragon Rana, obviously very, very innovative. Very, very cool, and a guy that was very much a sought-after guy during this era of the tape trading era. But for really all these guys, man, I mean, obviously Shima and Dragon Kid, so influential for the Dragon Gate style, but Don Fuji's been around from the get-go, and he is still out there on the undercard sometimes. It's crazy. Magnum Tokyo was kind of the first guy where Ultimo Dragon, before he left for WWE, he wanted the promotion to be a lot more entertainment and a lot less focused on wrestling. I don't know if he was trying to get these guys jobs in WWE or not. That's kind of always been my theory in that, because what Toryumon was doing before that, I mean, it was awesome. They had it's a 12-man 3v3 match that happened in Cork in 2003. It was for the UWA World Trios titles, which was the Toryumon Trios belts. That is fucking awesome. It's got Do Fixer's team. It's got, as far as Crazy Max, the Italian collection, and then I'm forgetting Machizuki, Ari's, and Dragon Kid's team at the time. I want to say they were just like the babyface unit team of Toryumon at the time. Very, very cool match. Very, revolutionary, innovative match, because there's so much shit you could see from that match that happened in 2003, that's very much a focal point of a lot of the indie matches, big multi-man indie matches of the 2010s, and even seeing it sometimes in AEW in the 2020s. Kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a class that is just almost unbeatable. That first class of talent. So much talent involved. The second class, though, or the second term of the first class, so just kind of the guys that debuted after them, pretty much in '98, we saw Genichiro Ari, who I thought was a good little undercard talent. Had a tremendous Tiger Suplex. I always loved his Tiger Suplex. Yasushi Kanada, who was at one time a ref, and then he came back because he got kind of fucked up a little bit, but I believe at this time he is he's still a ref at this time, actually, because yeah, I think in 2006 he came back, so he is still a ref at this time. And basically he also was an office guy at the time too. Basically he I believe it was a back to belly pile driver from Horiguchi's what kind of fucked up his vertebrae in his neck, and it's when he took the shift. But he didn't end up coming back and end up being he still pretty much wrestles to this day, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, at this point right now he's our second ref. I wouldn't say he's our senior official, but he's a guy that probably has the most as far as time as a ref, though. I will say that, but I wouldn't necessarily. Well, it's tough. We'll talk about the other ref because he's in the second class, but he also was a guy who started off as a wrestler, got injured, switched to being a ref. But yeah, then we have the GOAT, Jinky Horiguchi. Absolutely love this man. One of the most charismatic people you will ever fucking see on this roster. And at the time, too, I mean, to think that by the time, really, when he was in his prime, which is hilarious to say, because literally he would win matches, rather, with a backslide. Very much like the peak of what a comedy guy could be and still be like a credible top-level threat. He does what Yano did, if you've never seen Toryumon or Dragon Gate stuff. He basically does, or did, what Toru Yano did with the roll-ups and shit, and getting wins that way, but at a much better level, and also being way more charismatic. Like, he's probably one of the most charismatic people on this roster. Incredible stuff. And then Stalker Ichikawa, who Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa, one of the best comedy guys. His little open challenge run that he had for a hot minute was pretty awesome. He fought like Takayama was a guy that answered the call. Trying to think, I remember Awesome Kong did it. That was pretty great. He was very much a mainstay of like the Owari Gate Championship, which is basically the the Comedy Gate Championship. It literally didn't matter who would win or lose. Like after the match, like the audience, it would be like whoever got the most laughs during the match, which is something we're not going to do, unfortunately. As much as I love that belt and love that style, it's just we can't replicate that in TEW, so kind of is what it is. But yeah, that was called the Reckless Run. Matsunaga answered it once. Kawada answered it once. I want to say Akira Hokuto answered it once. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty great. Because, like, it was just a running gag where I'm just like, it's not just Dragon Gate guys. Like, it's just getting anybody, kind of like anybody in the back has got the fucking stones to do it. Just great. He's also billed from Fuji Television Network, which is, we'll talk about the kind of importance of that once we get to the schedule, but that's always been hilarious to me. Just the absolute, one of the most entertaining fuckers you'll ever see. His matches, I don't think they even go 5 minutes. A lot of the times he'd have his wife, Namiko, who would be out there with them, and then she would throw the towel in to stop them. Just great stuff. Great stuff. But the opponent would still, like, be like, fuck that shit, and hit their finish out. It's just great. Just great. God damn. That's the one thing about Torimon that I've always loved. It's kind of the promotion that is just kind of I've identified with the most as being like, that is kind of my brand of what I love about wrestling. Crazy ass multi-man matches, crazy ass gimmick matches. Having the combination of Lucha and Japanese Pro Wrestling with some American characters, and then at least characteristics and gimmicks and whatnot, and just comedy as well. Just some great comedy shit, which we'll get into more with the T2P class, which is the second class. And also Suzumu Yakusuka and Ryo Saito, who round up the third and fourth term guys, basically rounding up the list. That 12 guys right there, just as a core roster itself, with those 12 guys, you could have a pretty good show. Which is crazy to think, all trained under one guy. And that's why Torimon really worked. Because even though these guys were super green at the time, by 2002, 2003, the most experienced guy was, obviously all the first class guys in 97, but still, that's not a lot of experience for your most experienced guy, but they all trained under the same umbrella. And with the Lucha training, being able to base for guys, being able to work with guys, and getting familiar with the talent so much, and so after so many years, it's like wrestling somebody, knowing them like the back of your hand. I mean, it worked out so well, and it really elevated talent to just a whole new level. Really, really great stuff. And was very much a focal point to what would open up, I would say, probably the biggest influence as far as for kind of what the what the independent wrestling guys that I grew up with of the early and mid 2000s, this era in particular, that really grew to love. As I'll go ahead and make that inactive now that we don't have to see it, but that is the first class. The second class was from the Torimon 2000 project, the T2P. I think Alex Shelley said it best. When you're getting into wrestling as a fan at that time, and you had a choice to watch Torimon or New Japan or All Japan, once Noah started, Noah in the early 2000s, you could watch younger guys at the time that were around the same age, but they weren't doing the shit that T2P guys were doing, because they had gimmicks, they had great characters, they were given a great opportunity in a lot of main event matches, a lot of big time matches. They were able to develop at such a rate, at such a young age, that it was quite impressive by the time it got to the mid 2000s, and these guys had only had maybe 3, 4, 5 years experience, and they were still some of the best talent in the world. And really, it even comes with that fifth term guys, so basically the first crop of talent from the Torimon 2000 project, Anthony W. Mori, Noriki Doi, and the Florida brothers, fucking Michael Iwasa and Daniel Mishima. My God, do I love those two, and the Florida boys. Obviously, Noriki Doi is definitely the best of the four. He's super fucking talented, still a Dragon Gate guy to this day. Which, I mean, Anthony W. Mori, he's, I think, a Dragon Gate office guy now. I believe that's where he's doing. And I think Taku Iwasa, which is Michael Iwasa here, I think he's semi-active with Dragon Gate, but man, the Florida brothers. So this gimmick, first of all, just a brilliant idea. Really, it started with it really starts the comedy stuff with Takuya Iwasa, who started off wanting to be, I think it was like a satanic gimmick. It was like Takamichi Iwasa. Injuries were kind of derailing him. He ended up just being a job guy underneath guys. So then he's getting scouted by Crazy Max, though, the best stable in Torimon. Shima's like, alright, we'll give you a 10-match trial. Even though he was never fully interested. Basically, everybody was kind of like, Don Fuji and Stu was like, yeah, come on, we need this guy. He's an evil bastard. We got a chance to really get somebody at this level. He loses all 10 matches, which is brilliant. He loses all 10. Obviously, he's not joining Crazy Max. So, after that happened, he teams up with Ryumu Mishima. I always fucking... Daniel Mishima. I always fuck up his real name, but Daniel Mishima. They team up. They join forces. But then they, after they don't get into Crazy Max, they get into M2K, which is like Machizuki's group. They end up losing too many matches, and they're exiled from there. They're just like, you guys are not worth it. So then they try to get their own unit. They can't do so. Nobody wants to join with them. So then they're like, alright, we're going to America to do this warrior trading over there in America. Well, they come back, and they're Americans now. They have proclaimed America as their home. They come out to, like, We're Living in America song. I forget who, fucking James Brown, right? As far as, just genius. So they changed their names. They're now Michael and Daniel Mishima, which they're basically doing, like, Southern style, like, goofy American, like, comedy wrestling. Iwasa carries around a folding chair, and it's got, like, the Stars and Stripes on it. He's in the Stars and Stripes gear. He did the Eddie spot with it, where he would throw, he'd make a noise, throw the chair, and then fake like he's being hit, and the referee would then DQ him, and they would leap to their feet, and, to have their fucking, they would do this shit where they have the anthem playing, and they would do the fucking hands over their hearts type of thing, too. You would think the crowd would hate this, obviously. No, they were beloved. It was so over. They absolutely loved it. Because I think the crowd, like, got it. The crowd got that what Torimon was this kind of ragtag, a little bit of Dragon Gate style. Was like, if you took Michinoku Pro style and you took DDT style and you fused it together into one thing, it's kind of what it was. And really their peak is when Kensuke Sasaki joined, which was fucking incredible. Now also too, they also had Takayuki Yagi, who you see there, part of the, I believe, he was the seventh term guy. Yeah, Shuji Kondo was the last guy as far as the 8th term guy, who ended up being, he was a wrestler, got hurt, ended up being a ref, and then he ended up joining them as Johnson, Florida. He would wear, like, an American flag, like, shirt, a part of his referee shirt, and then wearing, like, these oversized sunglasses that he needed so he could see. Just kind of genius self. Which he ended up, Kensuke Sasaki, too. He ended up being, like, Kinski after he lost to him. He lost to him via DQ. Just great shit, and they did like there was a tag match. It's a trios match. So them, it's, Kensuke and the Florida boys, the Florida brothers of, obviously, Daniel Mishima and Michael Iwasa, against Stu Fixer of Magnum Tokyo, Genkei Oraguchi. I'm blanking on the third guy now, but Hokuto is with them. Is with Do Fixer, and there's like a bit of a promo battle between Kensuke because he's gone full Florida brother now, and it's great. They would speak English too, like they would wear these ridiculous like hats that were kind of the time, but like just a ridiculous like that kind of visor hat, but it was out to like it was like a full ass foot long. It was just. They were a character. They're probably my favorite comedy tag team ever. They were so great as far as what they were able to do. God damn it. But I will say this, by around the time of like 2006, it had kind of run its course. And I think it was smart to kind of get away from that. Which Iwasa would end up joining Tozawa's group. But yeah, I mean, that group, just so many great memories out of that. They were fucking awesome. So awesome. But yeah, then as far as the sixth term guy, the only guy that's kind of out of relevancy for us here in this save is Milano Collection AT, who is the fucking man. Absolutely love Milano. Around this time, I would say he was probably one of my favorite guys in the wrestling world. The incredible gimmick, the incredible talent. Wasn't the greatest promo compared to some of the Toymon guys, but still, he was a star, man. He was, like, Magnum Tokyo was pushed very highly by Ultimo Dragon and was, like, the guy that he wanted to be the face of the company. Milano was a better version of Magnum Tokyo in every sense of the world, of the word, and he had far less experience. He was so awesome, so talented. It's a goddamn shame that he ended up leaving Dragon Gate and also ended up having to retire early as well. Which is an unfortunate thing with a lot of Dragon Gate guys. That style is very much taxing on the talent. And especially when we talk about what the schedule is like around this time in 2004, it is very, very taxing on the talent. And you would see a lot of guys end up having to retire or leave. And it was bad. It was pretty bad. There's a lot of chaos thrown their way at a very young age too, so that was pretty tough. Then as far as the seventh term guys, you got Yoshihino, who at this time part of Italian Collection. We haven't changed his name yet here in the mod, but that's what it will be once we get rolling. I just haven't done it yet. Part of the Italian Collection, Yasino. As far as him, of course, I mean, he's just the speed star. He's so fucking good. Again, at such a young age. In that 12-man tag that I was talking about, it's him, Shuji Kondo, and Milano as the Italian Collection. And they're doing spots in that match. And these guys are 2 years in, 3 years in at the time, and they are fucking on fire. So awesome. So awesome. Can't praise that enough. Toru Owashi, I forgot he was. I always thought he was so fucking ginormous that to be like a part of Dragon Gate, because he's definitely the biggest fucking guy there, height wise and weight wise. He's like 260, just a giant dude. I always thought he kind of stuck out like a sore thumb because he was a decent base, but he wasn't like a crazy good base. Then we got Brother Yashi there to round up the seventh term guys, because Takayuki Yagi, rather, is right now he's the general manager of Dragon Gate, I believe. At least he was at one point, but he still is the ref. He's the main ref now. Man, was a part of the Italian Collection at one point. End up having to then he ended up being like banished to like his father's bakery to learn like a family trade, which is hilarious. He ended up being bakery Yagi, and that didn't really go over well. It was a great idea in theory, but he used to like carry this loaf of bread too and use them as weapons. It's just just great. When they split, there ended up being like a split with like Shuji Kondo and Brother Yashi, who are a part of the Italian Collection. They end up going to that side as far as being basically a heel unit. They were called the Giants. I forget what their actual Japanese name at the time was. I'm blanking on it. But all those guys ended up getting fired at the end of 2004. But it was a fun time. It's a fun time to be had. And of course, the fucking GOAT, Shuji Kondo. Just tremendous at such a young age, too. Like all these fucking guys were. He, I still pop for old Shuji Kondo when I see him. He's the fucking man. The mini Haas of that era for them. Great base. Him slinging Dragon Kid around is always fun to watch. He was awesome. Very, very cool. Him being a heel, I think, helped him out a lot, too, when what could have been type of thing with Shuji Kondo, but alas, it is what it is. And then for some of the other guys that are not... So we see Crazy Max here, which is obviously the top heel stable of Torimon. This is the earliest stable that we have. You started at the end of 97. It's, man, I mean, Shima, Don Fuji, Suwa, incredible talent. Then they added Tadaru, too, which was great. Tadaru really, fit the evilness. Because, I mean, he always looked awesome. But, of course, he ends up leaving. A lot of guys around 2004, 2005 end up leaving. I don't know if it's because the shift away from what what thought was going to happen when the new people took over. I'm not sure what it was, but there was definitely a big time shift, and they got away from Dragon Gate, at least what they thought was the vision for Dragon Gate. Like, Milano left in March of 2005. Tower would leave pretty much the next month. Him and Suwa would both leave, and then they would fire everybody, like Shuji Kondo, and trying to I forget who else was a part of that group at the time of the Giants, but all the Giants ended up getting fired. It was pretty tough. Pretty tough. And also all of Ultimate Dragon students, which would be Torimon X, the third class of talent. So that would be like Taiji Shimori was a part of that group. That group kind of didn't really have as much success as the first two, mainly because of, I think, the weird transitional period away from Dragon Gate, and they would end up going basically New Japan. A lot of the talent would New Japan, All Japan. That's where Ishimori pretty much went, and then obviously they were like, yeah, he's way too fucking small, Dragon. Like, we gave you this bone, but he's too small to ever do anything big, which is crazy, because obviously in real life he ends up coming back and doing some big things for him. But yeah, he tries to do something in New Japan, All Japan. He kind of finds his mark in Noah. That's kind of where he goes for the next decade or so. But yeah, I mean, Crazy Max, they end up turning, at least Shima and Don Fuji, once it was like Suwa's gone and Tadaru's gone. They're basically like, fuck it, we're leaving Crazy Max, and they start their own thing. Does not work out as well as Crazy Max, but Crazy Max was so influential, it's hard to kind of top that. Do Fixer, though, and as far as, it was a dragon, or a Darkness Dragon, KNES, at the time, which now KNES, I believe, is in M2K. Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah, now he's a part of M2K. But yeah, it was first formed by him, but yeah, he got kicked out. Yeah, after he lost his mask to Dragon Kid. Yeah, that match is also really good. But yeah, I mean, right now it's Magnum Tokyo as the leader. Ryo Saito, Dragon Kid, Horiguchi, Nuki Tanizaki, who's also part of that third class of guys. He's actually still doing his trial series at this time in July of 2004. But, yeah, I mean, Nuki Tanizaki, super talented. Just at this point, he's super, super young. But, man, it's so funny. Magnum Tokyo is supposed to be the leader, but Dragon Kid's so awesome. Horiguchi's so over and such a charismatic force. Magnum Tokyo just kind of holding these guys back. And really what Magnum Tokyo, I think to kind of summarize why he was wrong for Dragon Gate, is when BB Hulk comes in and he joins Do Fixer. And Magnum Tokyo kind of took him under his wing, but in probably a bad way to have a guy be your kind of senpai at the time. Because the Do Fixer entrance, it is a thing to behold, but it's so fucking crazy. It's this big choreographed thing, but that's all he kind of cared about was that, and not the wrestling, which is, I think, why he flamed out of Dragon Gate. I think that's why he's not really remembered as fondly as some of the other guys of Dragon Gate, because he just was not as good as them. Even Ryo Saito, he's a great hand. He's probably not as charismatic as Magnum Tokyo was, but I would say he had a better career for Dragon Gate than Magnum Tokyo did. Super, super talented. But yeah, M2 Do Fixer is basically like the more dancey kind of version of what M2K was, and that's kind of their big shtick. It is kind of crazy. Dragon Kid is a part of it, because I always felt like he kind of oddly did not fit. But yeah, and of course, Saito, Dragon Kid, and Jinke Horiguchi, they were a part of the team that would take on the Blood Generation team in Ring of Honor, have that crazy ass trios match. Shout out to Orguchi being an incredible comedy wrestler and being a part of some of the greatest matches of all time. And then M2K. Oh, that's what it is. Agan Ilusu. Yes, that's what it was. Yes. After that, he got kicked out of that. He ended up reconnecting with Suzumu Yakusuka, and they ended up reforming M2K. But it was a final M2K. I kind of I don't think it was necessary to call it final M2K at this time. I think they were just trying to put a fresh coat of paint on it, type of thing. But it's a fun group, though. I mean, I always loved Machizuki, of course. I mean, still at it. Him and his son are having great matches against each other. It's crazy. Machizuki, I think he's 55, 56, about the same age as Dragon Kid. He's out there killing it. I always liked Yokosuka. His gear was very much the indie-rific gear of the time, too, which always pops me watching that back. Again, we already talked about Ahari. He was always pretty solid. K-Ness, though, I always thought he was awesome. Another thing about Dragon Gate around this time, I have so much fondness with watching Torimon, then watching Dragon Gate, and watching them come to the indies, to the American indies, but also Fire Pro Wrestling returns. Seeing guys like K-Ness and Dragon Kid and a lot of the Dragon Gate guys in the default roster and being able to play as them was very, very cool. Had a lot of hours put in as K-Ness and Dragon Kid, because I always thought those guys were awesome. And then Rookie Doi, who I believe at this time was called Second Doi. He actually might have changed to Naruki Doi by this time, but I always thought that name was kind of weird. I always felt like it was kind of beneath him, and he's always been Naruki Doi to me. That's kind of how I always saw him as, so that's why I took the second out. And then the Italian Connection, which I always thought should have been called the Italian Collection if it was me, because the fucking fashionista gimmick. But yeah, they all are renamed to Italian sounding names. So Yoshihino is Yoshino. Brother Yashi was Brother Yasani. Shuji Kondo was Kantari Shuji. And then, and then Yagi, when he was a part of it, was Pescatori Yagalin. And then obviously Milano Collection AT, which is funny. Anthony W. Moore, he did not change to a Italian name, because I mean that's kind of different in itself. It's not really a Japanese name, so I always thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, we got Yoshihino is the man. I can't wait to see how he does in this. Same thing for Milano. Oh yeah, we also have to make that inactive. There we go. So I think that we're gonna add a couple more stables to this. I think we are gonna add the Ayagan Liso, which will be like Shuji Kondo and Brother Yashi's group, the secondary heel group, because that's kind of how I always thought at this time, that kind of the heel group, face group, but kind of leaning towards heel, kind of chaotic neutral, you might say, or around that variable. M2K definitely leaning the babyface side, and then Italian Collection again leaning babyface side, but also more in the central, and they needed that kind of second heel group. You can even say maybe Do Fixers kind of leaning towards the heel side at times, too, in a way. Back in Tokyo would do some fucked up shit at times. It was pretty fucked up, but yeah, I mean, as far as that would be the overall the roster. We'll go to the titles now, because the titles, a little bit of explaining, nothing too crazy. The trios belts were, which I always loved the Open the Triangle Gate, because they had the three dragon heads, and each one was kind of like, it represented power, technique, and mind. I thought that was always cool. They would crown their first champions during the fall at the Rey de Perez? Yeah, or the Rey de Perez. I always want to confuse that with the fucking tag gimmick that Chikara used to do. But, yeah, to open the Triangle Gate, to open the Twin Gate, it's obviously the tag belts. The Dream Gate. The Dream Gate's kind of cool. I always thought it was a cool idea for a belt, because, sure, it's the single guy, the top singles guy. The challenger would get a key to open. There's like a little key, you can kind of see it. The keyhole here. you could turn the key once you won. You open the fucking thing and you put your name in there, and your name's synonymous with that belt forever, right? But if you lost, your key was then attached to the bottom of the belt. So it's kind of like, in a more kind of graphic way, when Native Americans used to scalp people and used to keep the fucking shit on like their necklace or something, or piece of just to remind people how many people they've scalped, and just showing how much of a bad motherfucker they are. In that way, showing how much of a badass this guy is as a champion. He's beaten this many guys during his reign. It's a great visual representation of how many defenses he has, and I thought it was a cool idea. Cool shit. Right now, Shima's the champ. Basically, Suwa got hurt during this time. Had to forfeit the belt. They did a one-night tournament at the anniversary show, which ended up being the final show for Toryumon. Finals came down to Shima and Shuji Kondo. He beat Shuji Kondo, of course, so now he's the champ. It's kind of weird starting the save here in July, because, we didn't even really talk about this, too. But since we're done with the belts, we can get away from that. So the mod itself, the mod is Idols Where It All Begins Again mod. Now, that was in April of 2004, is what that base mod was. Basically, I'm sure as you all know, if you're familiar with what the mod seems like right now, that mod does not have Toryumon, which I can't really fault Idol, because it's something that he's not like watched. He doesn't have any knowledge really of the product, and that's fine. If you're not gonna, I'd rather you not include it than make it and have it be half-assed. So what I did was, in 2020, TEW 2020, Mammoth did the Shifting Sands mod. So I took that Dragon Gate from that era, imported that over. Obviously, transferred it from TEW 2020 to TEW 9, and then transferred over the roster, all the chemistry stuff, the moveset stuff, and the company itself. So that's where all these guys basically came from, because I think the only people that are actually in the mod when I started was Milano. Whoever has a great little actual biography, and then whoever has like this kind of, the static one, or the organic one, is who was in the mod from the beginning. So yeah, like Shimo, not in the mod, stuff like that. Yeah, Toru Urashi, yeah, because he was part of it. Oh, this is the owner. That's why he doesn't have a picture. Because also I had to import some of the guys that ended up getting fired, and some of the guys that they still need pictures that debut around this time, like Taiji Shimori. I could sign him, obviously, but I think that's kind of, he would not go to Dragon Gate after Ultimo Dragon took all the names and rights and all that shit. He would probably work in Toryumon, Mexico, which we do have open, but we just have Ultimo Dragon as the owner, which we probably should change. We should probably bring in some guys for him, but I don't want to I don't want to just add myself as Ultimo Dragon, sign a bunch of guys, and then immediately remove my little player. It'd be kind of weird, but yeah, it's the mod itself. It's kind of funny too, because this mod, it's it's funny Dragon Gate's not in it, but the arena is, because it uses a different mod pack for the venues and locations. I always thought that was kind of funny when I noticed that. But yeah, I mean, so also the tag team, so like Fuji and Shima, they have their experience. Horiguchi and Tanasaki, as far as in Horiguchi or Ryo Saito, Speed Muscle, which I didn't think they were a team at this time, so I'm actually going to put that as an active unit, just so I can keep it. Super Shiza, and then Shiza Boy, Sachihiko Machine, which I did not think we had. Sakahicho Machine, that's kind of crazy. And then obviously the Florida Brothers. Incredible. The GOATs. I will say this about the roster. Popularity-wise, it's going to be tough because we are a very small company. There are a couple of guys that are pretty over. There's some guys that aren't, though. Like, Milano. I feel like that's a fucking slap in the face, to be honest. Should I up it? Probably. Will I, though? We'll see. I'm at least going to give him the benefit of the doubt in the first night. Which, yeah, I think now we talked about the roster, the belts, the tag teams. I think we're now good for the schedule. Now, the schedule, at this time, with the announcement of the name change, they also did a partnership with Fuji TV at the time. The Fuji TV network, it had just moved its headquarters to Odaiba, which Odaiba is where it used to be just a fucking port, and then like in the late 90s, they were like, hey, this might actually be a cool idea. They started putting shit together. They put like $1 trillion into it, turn a bunch of like vacant lots into houses, a whole bunch of shit. And now I think they even have like a lot of stadiums and shit. I think they have like a Hilton hotel. Actually, I think they also have a replica of the Statue of Liberty at the Rainbow Bridge now, which is kind of crazy. And the Rainbow Bridge itself, which is from, you see that a lot in Digimon, which that is also because Fuji Network, their television station headquarters, is at Odaiba. And at Odaiba, they're like, hey, we do this thing in the summer. It's like this Adventure King TV show for like tourism to like, hey, we're doing shit in Odaiba, come on down. Their idea, I don't know whose idea this was, because this is kind of a fucking genius idea, but it's crazy too at the same time. They were going to do for 2 months during the summer, during Adventure King time, they were going to do everyday pro wrestling at the Dragon Gate Arena, which was just some place that Fuji TV owned. I don't even think it held like 1,000 people. Every fucking day. For, I think it was either 60 days or 90 days. And sometimes it was twice a day they would run it. It would only be like 1 or 2 matches. But it was every day pro wrestling day. Which I believe is why Dragon Gate started doing the World Pro Wrestling Festival. I believe that's where that came from, that idea, after doing it during the mid-2000s. Which, crazy. Which is why we have some of these, like we have like a tour show like Day 7, Day 14, but then there's a premium. The premium shows, they were not at Odaiba, from what I remember. I wish I had the schedule now in front of me. I don't. But from what I remember, that was... Actually, I can just click on it, because... Okay, no, it is in the Dragon Gate Arena. Okay, so this was actually taped for TV, the premium shows, which there's like 4 of them, and it was basically all in the month of March. I think there might have been one in September, now I'm thinking about it, but... Basically, yeah, it was an idea to get tourism, to get new fans for this, even though it's technically a new promotion, it really isn't. It's just a promotion with a rebrand, which I think was pretty successful, because Dragon Gate's audience at the time, which wisely, I think for the time, it was the younger audience. It was that teenage audience, because the roster at the time, a bunch of teenage boys, it's a bunch of, guys in their early 20s. Like, as far as, the oldest guy is probably, Super Shiza, and he's 34, and he's got a mask, but, like, Shima, he's 26. Like, all these guys are super fucking young. I feel like that's off, though. 26. Maybe, no, because, he'd be 20 in 97. Yeah, that doesn't seem right, but oh yeah, because his birthday's coming out. That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, all these guys, like, especially around 2003 and 2004, around this time, like, you would have like a bunch of like 20-year-old, 22, 24-year-old, like a lot of girls, which to me as a fan base, that's kind of the golden ticket fan base because they will fucking support you until the end of time. Look at all the boy bands that have come from the fucking world. Whether it's in America, whether it's in Korea, if it's in Japan, if it's all over the goddamn world. I mean, it is just a phenomenon, especially around, well, this time it's kind of dying, unfortunately, but there is still, it's not every day you could see a bunch of in shape, young, good looking dudes, you know, it just kind of, at the time, it's not like you have an Instagram or anything to go on. You'd have to actually leave your house and have to go out in the world. Like, especially like Milano, because Milano's tall too. Like, you're not gonna see a guy like that walking the goddamn streets. God damn it. But, yeah, in that, so you'd have a rabid fan base, the crowd would be really into it, and they kind of understood the lightheartedness of the action too. It's pretty genius. Pretty genius. As for the product itself at this time, which is also great to see because now because Gaora Sports, which we do have a deal with them for their events, which I'm blanking on where to look at that. Oh, I think it's, yeah, the broadcasting, duh. Gaora Sports, they have a YouTube channel right now, and they've been uploading classic Toymon Dragon Gate stuff for like the past year or so. It's in Japanese though, is why I can't like link it, because it's like, it's hard to like be like, hey, look up this, because it's fucking in Japanese. But if you just search Gaora Sports in English, I think it will pop up. They also had the rights for All Japan at the time, but at the time, which is kind of crazy because All Japan didn't really work with Dragon Gate. They didn't like send talent over during All Japan shows to try and help boost even more eyes on the product for Dragon Gate. They would air commercials and they would even promote the shows like during like the kind of intermission time for Dragon Gate. Very, very cool. But right now we're just on their tier 2 stuff for the events. We're going to do the tour highlights, which we're just going to do that now actually on the actual Gaora Sports. Which, yeah, as you can see, All Japan's already doing that. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We have to add that. We have to edit that to where it's 2 companies, because that is what it was at the time. It's not like it's cheating, because that's what it was. And it is what it is. So you get to do that. Boy, this is going to be a long episode, but we had a lot to talk about. Listen, I wanted to make sure everybody kind of knows what the fuck is going on. Because, I mean, again, it's easy for me, because I've seen these guys now for 20-some years now. But for others, it's their first time, so it's nice to let everybody kind of know what the fuck is going on. Oh, I love how it's End of the Year Awards. Yeah, and this is Idol Skin, too. I feel like that was kind of for the best thing to do, since it's his mod. That, I mean, to say it still is his mod. Like, I've just literally added Dragon Gate in 20-some names, so it's not like it's my fucking baby here. Oh yeah, also, we gotta fucking do the deal. Oh, but yeah, and the open gate, really the idea is to figure out what we know. That's kind of crazy, we can run Fighting TV Samurai, but now with the Gaora Sports tour highlights. The highlights are probably going to be either late or early in the evening. Probably fucking late night. Oh, probably graveyard. Oh, boy. Oh, well, we'll probably get... Yeah, 45. Listen, we gotta start somewhere. Because, yeah, I mean, we would lose money doing that. How about daytime? How are we doing the day? Sure. I feel like that might work out. Yeah, it's tough because a late night would kind of be would make the most sense, but we can't really do that. Graveyard, I feel like, sure, it'd be for the young teenage kids, but I don't think that's a good idea. Too, at the same time, like I just don't think people will be watching the show as much compared to doing it in the day. So yeah, we'll do that. Hey, set your fucking. I would say your TiVo, but I don't think TiVo was. No, it might have been a thing in 2004. Not sure exactly in Japan what was all the haps going on over there. Fucking set your VHS tapes, god damn it, before you head out. But yeah, so the Open Gate is the tour that's mainly the major focus. We're on a couple of shows for these tours, like a couple of matches rather, for the Everyday Pro Wrestling Festival. I forget what they were calling it. I think they were just calling it Everyday Pro Wrestling. But yeah, the main focus is the Open Gate tour, which we're going to run 6 days of it. Then the final show to kick off August. Once we get done with that tour, which will August will basically be the rest of the premium pro wrestling shows, we'll then go into what will be the Trios tournament, which is a round robin tournament to crown our Open the Triangle Gate champs. That's going to be a lot of fun to see. In real life, it was the Italian collection that won that. I'm not sure who's going to win it this time around. Just kind of looking to see kind of how everybody does ratings-wise. Funny enough, Kazuchika Okada debuts in the mod next month. We're not going to bring him in, mainly because, again, he was also an Ultimo Dragon guy. He was a part of that, I think, the 4th class, the last class. So, yeah, unfortunately, because I feel like he would fit very, very well. Not just because, obviously, who he turns into, but he's kind of a goofy little fucker, too. Like, he would probably love it. He's kind of like a bigger Milano, in a way. More, as far as fleshed out, too, weight-wise. But that's always kind of been my kind of comparison. Milano, if he was on the gas. It's a good little tidbit, I always thought. But, yeah, it's been a fucking hour. We're talking about Dragon Gate, Torimon Hex, Torimon 2000 Project, T2P. Awesome time. Awesome time period. It's, 2004. It's, it does feel like 20 years ago, but sometimes it doesn't. I keep on just going back to the roster page because this group of talent, they just worked so goddamn well together. I don't know if there'll ever be a company like that where you have one guy train like 12, 16, 20 guys, and they're all so good in their own ways, and it could be a viable promotion. Not even viable, but like a very like cult followed, like this fucking shit rules promotion. I always wanted to do a Dragon Gate Torimon save, but never did it, mainly because of my love for Dragon Gate and Torimon of this era. Much like when I talk about ECW and why I never do an ECW save, I love that time so much. It's hard to like fantasy book it when I could just watch the whole, the thing. But with this, though, it's a little different because 2004, so much shit changed with the roster for the bad, I thought, at the time. Milano leaving was a huge blow. Shuji Kano leaving was a huge blow. But in a way, they still were able to roll through. They were still able to do a lot of cool shit. And obviously, too, we're at a kind of crossroads. Do we bring in the foreign talent early? Do we bring them in now and get away from it being the Torimon way of it all being Ultimo Dragon guys? Because obviously, we'll be losing out on Ultimo Dragon guys. So it kind of makes sense to do it now, but at the same time, my purest Torimon heart, it hurts my soul thinking about doing that. But man, is there some fucking talent in the American Indies to bring in? Obviously, Pac and Roddy and Jack Evans and all those guys that even worked Dragon Gate at the time. That's kind of the first kind of Gaijin talent coming over. It would make sense. It definitely would make sense. But yeah, that will do it for this intro episode. Hope you all have learned. If you did not know anything about Dragon Gate, hopefully by the end of this, you're like, hey, I know what Dragon Gate is. Good on you. Good on you. The modern day Dragon Gate culture, at times, it still is that, where it's given young guys an opportunity to do something where they would not be able to do it elsewhere. But at the same time now, like, Pro Wrestling Noah now, that they got a fucking youngster out there as the champ right now, kicking fucking ass would not really be a thing that happened a lot during this time. And I mean, especially too, like, it would be awesome to bring in like a Kenta and Marufuji run, like during like the Summer Adventure Tag League that we're going to be doing. But yeah, as far as that's kind of the synopsis of what this intro is. Dragon Gate's fucking awesome. If you've never seen it, go watch it. You'll not be disappointed. It still holds up even 20 years later. Like, I just watched that 12-man tag match. Just when I was getting the itch. I was like, man, they uploaded that, and it's the best quality you'll ever see that shit. Because back then, God, it was in 2040p, if that. You just be like, I can tell it's the fucking Italian collection, because they're all fucking, they got the Italian flags on them. But, yeah, thank you all for watching this new series. Our first real-world save of TEW9. I know that's a very, very exciting thing to think about. And we're here. We are fucking here for it. For the Dragon Gate tours. As we've opened the gate, and now we enter that gate in 2004. In our next episode, for episode 2, we will catch you guys there. Take care, everyone.